fast worked, and actually functioned, I could make this game. And that is true for every aspect of all my games, but also when you go back and read about what other people have done, even the greats, especially the greats, it's all half-ass stuff. It's all duct tape and lies. Originally, when I was making the game, also when I was doing the tests in that 4-block city, when you would smash people and step on people, there would also be a blood splatter that would smear against the ground. But for some reason I couldn't get that to not fly, and I was sick of seeing blood suspended above the ground. The only place that's left in the game, the script that I made to make blood splatter out when the people died, that was my basis for making buildings break as well, and there's a weird bug where docks will sometimes bleed when you kill them. Or when you smash them up, yeah. Docks might leave behind a smear of blood in the ocean, which I decided it wasn't worth fixing because who spent a lot of time looking at the bottom of the ocean after they smashed the dock. Man, these are way too freeform because I get halfway distracted with playing the game and halfway distracted with telling the story that I'm working on it together. Alright, I talked about coming off the fire, I talked about making my last game, I talked about... Oh, fuck you. I talked about how pathing works, and that right there was a fuck up. You could see that when I put my fist forward, it hit where his feet should be, and that gave him a signal to go up so that his feet wouldn't be phasing into the ground, and that's why I just threw that guy into the air on accident. I also... fuck, I'm too short. I also really wanted the ability to pick things up and throw them in this game. That goes all the way back to a demo, really, that I made called Trash My Apartment. When I was teaching myself to make 3D models, I set a challenge for myself that I was going to completely recreate my apartment, which was a shitty college one, and I was going to create it in Unity. So I spent, I don't know, a month and a half painstakingly recreating the ugly-ass apartment that I had in Blender, and then importing it into Unity. And then when I finally had it together, I put a first-person controller in it, so I could walk around my virtual apartment, which was kind of cool. But then there was nothing to do in it, so I gave the character the ability to basically throw rocks. And when I say again, I didn't know how to program at this point. I think I paid a guy like $5 from Reddit to make that script for me, where if you right-clicked, it would spawn a rock in the character's hand and shoot it forward. And I gave all of my things in my house rigid bodies and colliders, so you could go into my kitchen and throw a rock in the cupboard and it would send plates flying. You could go into the dining room and kick over chairs. When I say kick, I mean run your character controller into them. That character didn't have legs. Next level. Oh shit, the boats. And even though that game was stupid and ugly and nonsensical, it was actually very fun. I liked going into my apartment and smashing things. And there was no rhyme or reason to it. There was no win or loss scenario. But I threw that up on itch, and that was one of the things that got a lot of attention early. And when I say a lot, I mean probably not very much, but if anybody devoted more than 10 seconds to that game, I called that a win. Because it was hideous and badly made and whatever. But I remember how fun that mechanic was, and I thought if I'm going to be a giant kaiju causing chaos, I really needed to be able to cause chaos in the way that I could in Smash My Apartment. So the throwing thing was very important. The way throwing works is a little bit fucked up. So, if anyone watched the last one, again, there's the mechanic of kicking doors open. You can also kick chairs and kick targets if you really want. And the way that worked is the character had a 3D leg that when you hit the button, it would project the leg forward. And then there was a collider on the foot that when it hit things, it would add velocity to them. Fuck you. I'm gonna get sued. I can't look at that symbol. The way punching and grabbing works in this game is pretty much the same way, except instead of the collider that adds velocity to things, there's a collider in the punch hand that when you hit it, it adds damage to things. And there's a collider in the grab hand right in the palm that when you hit things that are tagged as grabbable, it will pick them up. Once you're holding something, it turns off your lizard's arms completely. So you cannot punch, you cannot grab when you're holding anything. And it kind of puts the programming into the thing you're holding. It also takes off the box collider for the thing you're holding. I had a problem early on where you could grab like trucks and boats and cars, and if you looked down, the collider would still be there, so you could jump on it and fly into the air. That was a little bit fun, but also completely breaks the very, very, very thin illusion that I already have here. Oh, look at that. We're 15 to 25 buildings broken. 16, 17, 18. I would have liked if I could also have imparted force. I probably should have done that. But not a lot of this game actually works in a very physics-friendly game. Or in a very physics-friendly way. So I didn't want to open up that can of worms and really show off how badly this is put together. Like, just like the people, these boats are not floating in the water, they are flying and they are set to run around in a loop. Although the turrets that are on them are real. And they do fire shells that are actually physical. Oh shit. And I forgot this level was actually kind of hard. So the way the turrets work, in the same way that turret works, the same way the tank turret works, the same way the soldiers work, they all have a giant sphere around them that tells them when the lizard has crossed that threshold and is within range. And then, when the lizard is within range, they swivel to look at it. They have a collider projecting out from the barrel that tells them when the lizard crosses that line. And when that happens, they will snap and fire. Shit. Man, I forgot how many things you couldn't pick up in this first one. I say first like there's a second. There was a prototype for a second, but I tried to get interested in it and haven't got that yet, so I'm trying other games for now. Yeah, since I've worked on this game, I've worked on 4 other games. I think I've released 2 other games and made 3 prototypes that I scrapped. But I have gotten a lot better, and I realized how kind of hacky and terrible those turrets are, and how resource intensive they are for no good goddamn reason. Shit, this tank. I need to eat some people. But part of this postmortem is me going through and talking about the things that I did that I thought were stupid, but they worked, so I just let them be. Because as a developer, it's really easy to waste time trying to think of the perfect way to do things instead of just trying to think of a way to do things. I also talked a little bit in the first one about how before I made First Person Stapler, I'd been working with a crew of like 4 people that never released a single game. Which is entirely true. Those people never released a game. I did work with them for like 2 years. Oh, wait, let me see if I can get the Wilhelm screen. They were not the only crew of indie developers that I worked with, and over probably about 5 years of working with revenue share indie creators, we never once released a game. So me making First Person Stapler in 2 months and making it a cheap and kind of trashy but ridiculous and slightly fun game, that was just to prove to myself that I could actually create things and put them out there. And then this, like I said, I allowed myself, I want to say 6 months from the first prototype to publishing to put it all together. That was kind of a reward. I'd proven to myself that I could make something, even if it was silly, even if it was small. I could make something from start to finish, and it would be functional. And I mentioned the, what is it, COGG, Central Ohio Game Developers Group. Let me see if I can see the blood. Yeah, there's the blood from the bridge. That should not be there. After I had, I think, like 3 levels kind of put together, the water back then was still a flat blue texture. It's not like it's much better now. After I had a little bit of playable demo together, I had submitted it to the COGG to get some playtesting and feedback, and thankfully I was at the right place, right time. They were part of the convention at the time, and they were trying to fill space. And they had an extra table at a convention, so I got to bring in my computer and share this stupid demo with a bunch of people. And it was kind of weird. I realized my demographic was mid-20s guys and mid-teens girls, which is not at all what I expected. But probably the bulk of the people who really sat down and spent time with this game at that convention were 16-year-old girls. They apparently have a lot of rage. They really, really like the idea of destroying a town. So, you know, be safe. Also during that convention, when people got to test my game, I realized that people really wanted to fuck up trees. That is not something that I had in the game yet. That was entirely from that convention, because I would watch people go onto the islands, and, you know, Godzilla is kind of an environmental cautionary tale. He's supposed to be there destroying civilization in the name of the environment. So I had not yet programmed a way for you to destroy trees. So the first night, I had to go home. I only had one computer because I was still coming off the house fire. I didn't have a laptop or anything that I was taking to the convention or bringing home. I had one computer at the table with a monitor